Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in Guyana over the past week or so. And as is the norm, we always have a packed agenda of issues to discuss. I want to welcome all of you who are joining us on television from Region 5 West Coast Berbice and Region 6 East Berbice. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To all of you who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Rob Street, Georgetown, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And to the thousands of you who are joining us on Facebook Live, right across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and beyond. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Roy Anthony, Josh Singh, Malaram Naut, Motilal Singh, Ashraf Ali, Mamzo Inshan, Leslie Mongal. All of you, welcome, welcome. I know many of you, hundreds of you are already on the live. Share the live. Press that share button on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad, or whatever device you're using to view the program from. Press the share button so that all your friends and all your followers can join us in tonight's discussion. Good night, good night, good night, good evening, all of you. And use the comment section. Use the comment section to ask questions, voice your views, express your concerns, raise whatever issues you think is necessary. No abuse and no form of racism will be tolerated on this platform. I see Moonshine, this is a lady with a strange name, Moonshine Matadayal, is one of the most loyal viewer of this program. Pam Singh, another one. So many of you, I don't want to call names so that others may get, envious. I can't call all the names of all the persons. But as I was preparing a few minutes ago, I was telling my operator that Issues in the News is currently the longest running program of its type on social media and on television in Guyana, running now over a decade without stop. You may have had programs of longer length, but they are no longer running. This is the longest running program currently on air of its type. So congratulations to all of you. You should feel proud for viewing this program and being with me for the past 10 years and more. Congratulations once again. So, the election fever is high in Guyana. The crescendo is building. The enthusiasm is increasing. The energy is escalating. And with it comes a lot of revelations and purported scandals and disclosures of sensational type. And they are unfolding every day on the social media. There are too many to comment upon. Some of them have a deep political genesis, and others stem from personal antagonistic engagements between different personalities on the social media. One was unleashed today, a long recording involving a reporter who was interviewing a businessman engaged in the gold mining industry. And that recording contains a bombshell of allegations of all types, implicating from the president right down to many other persons. And since its airing and publication, responses have emanated from many directions, including the interviewee and also from many persons whose names have been mentioned in the main in a negative way on that program. Many threats of lawsuits have been made, and no doubt many will be filed. A political connection has already been identified, linked to the win party. In fact, the interviewee disclosed that he did this interview for a particular purpose and for a particular occasion, and it was not supposed to be disclosed. So the intrigue continues, and lawsuits are going to come from every direction, no doubt. And we will eventually get to the bottom of all of this. But there is a distinct and definite political genesis from which this is flowing. And it is connected by the man's own admission to that particular party. So it is still very much an evolving saga, and I don't wish to comment on the nature and purport of the disclosures and the allegations. They are all going to be the matter of judicial scrutiny and examination in due course based upon the threats of litigations that have come from so many quarters and are still coming. But what I find particularly disturbing is the allegations made that seek to implicate the mother of His Excellency the President. And then Melissa Atwell posting the President's mother's photograph on her Facebook platform, publishing denigrating and very disrespectful comments of and concerning the President's mother, thereby encouraging those who engage on her platform to make similarly disparaging comments about the President's mother. I want to condemn that type of behavior in the strongest possible terms. The President's mother is in her 70s, as far as I know, a highly religious person. And I know for a fact she dedicated almost her entire life to teaching. She's an educationer, or an educator rather. Dedicated her entire life to the teaching profession. Would have thought thousands of Guyanese across this country. Is now in retirement. To drag this elderly citizen's name and image across the social media and attempting to disgrace, denigrate, and disparage her character in that manner is nothing short of low, nasty, and degenerate conduct that must be condemned in the strongest possible manner. And I do so, and I hope that firm and appropriate actions will be taken against the publisher of those images and those disparaging and humiliating remarks, as well as Meta Facebook. Because we have to have standards. And there is a limit beyond which none of us should travel, irrespective of which side of the political or whatever divide we are situated. There must be sacred grounds that we should not travel. And people's families, including their parents, especially if they are elderly people who are not part of public life and are not part of politics, should be protected and insulated from the nastiness that we want to engage in. The president will defend himself. I have no problem. The president will do what he got to do about this issue in relation to himself. And I'm not speaking about the president here at all. I am speaking as a Guyanese younger person in defense of a nasty, reprehensible, and disgraceful attack on an elderly citizen who has served this country with distinction and has educated tens of thousands of Guyanese. She does not deserve this type of damage to her character at this stage of her life. And every Guyanese should join me in condemning this Melissa Atwell person for what she has done and what she continues to do. Using her platform as a weapon to attack people all day. You know that I have been a victim of her attacks. And with all the revelations that she's revealing, and all the taped conversations that she's revealing, you will note that despite she alleges that I fed her volumes and volumes of information about cabinet and about my colleague ministers, she has been unable to produce a scintilla, not a scintilla of evidence implicating me or how I was able to give her all this information that she claimed she received from me. Anyhow, I have already obtained a default judgment against her, and I am awaiting a date from the court for the assessment of damages hearing to take place. So I don't want people to think that I've dropped the case. I am very much prosecuting this case to the end and will enforce the judgment that I will eventually obtain. So I just want to put that on the public record so that I can move on. Venezuela has finally filed their rejoinder in the legal proceedings pending at the International Court of Justice. Guyana welcomes the filing of this document. Of course, in every filing, Venezuela has waited to the very last moment before filing. Maybe that's a strategy which is designed to delay the case as far as possible. But the document has been filed, and now the next stage is for the court to fix a date when the oral and written submissions are to be presented. And we anxiously await that date, because this case is of absolute importance to our country, its people, and the future of our country. So we are making progress, but, one step at a time. But it's sure progress. So I want to spend some time now on the elections campaign. So the voter in Guyana has a very simple choice to make. You have on the one hand the People's Progressive Party, a party that has been in existence since the 1st of January 1950 and has contested every single elections held in Guyana since. So it's a party that has 3/4 of a century of experience as a mass movement political party, has been in government for nearly 3 decades now, and prior to independence spent nearly 15 years in government. So it's not a party without governmental experience. But most importantly, was kept out of government fraudulently for 28 years. During difficult times where the party was under attack, the leadership of the party was under attack, the supporters of the party were under attack from a violent rival who held government by dictatorial reins and was not afraid to use force, to use the machineries of the state, and to use lethal force against its political opponent. The PPP weathered that storm. While in government from 1953 to 1964, although we were still a colony and only enjoyed limited internal self-governance, we saw massive progress being made by Dr. Jagan's government. It is during this period that the large agricultural schemes in our country were established and opened. The Blackbush polder, canals number 1 and 2 polder, the Tapakuma project in Essequibo, It is during this period that those huge farming organizational outlays were established. Today, those places continue to feed Guyana. It was during that time that the only agricultural school was established in the Caribbean, the Guyana School of Agriculture. It was during that time that the only technical institute was established in the Caribbean, the Guyana Georgetown Guyana Technical Institute, and then one in Berbice. It was during that time that the lands were demarcated for the establishment of the Mahaika Maikoni Abari scheme. It was completed under the PNC, but it started under Dr. Jagan. It was during this period that the University of Guyana was established. It was during this time that industrial estates, such as the one at Rimeveld and the one at BV, Betavawakting, were established. Phenomenal accomplishments were made during that period, though we were a colony. When in 1964, when Dr. Jagan left office, British Guyana was Her Majesty's richest colony in the Caribbean, in the West Indies. Her Majesty's richest colony. It was since then that Guyana, or British Guyana, was identified to be the food basket of the Caribbean. That is our record of accomplishment during colonial times. And I've just given you a synopsis of the main areas. I haven't delved deep. It was during those periods that we bridged the river by ferries. We built the ferries that crossed the Berbice River, the Demerara River, the Essequibo River. It was all during Dr. Jagan's premiership. And since then, Dr. Jagan was speaking about farm-to-market roads, etc., the Del Conte Highway and all these places. We had these plans since then. That is what we left in 1964, when the PPP left government. The wealthiest country in the Caribbean. Our people, Guyanese, we already had the only university in this region, the University of Guyana. They used to call it Jagan's Night School because it was used to be kept evening classes at the Queen's College. We were seen as the brightest people in the Caribbean. Our students were passing the GCE exams and the O-level and advanced more than any other country in this region. And the school leaving exams and so on at the time. School of Preceptors and so on, CPs, and the other exams that were being done at the time. That was the state when we left government in 1964. That is what they took over, the PNC took over. And when they left in 1992, we were poorer than Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. We were bankrupt. We had no infrastructure. We hardly had communities with potable water. We had no roads. We had no school. We hardly had schools. We had no proper health care system. And half of the country were running from Guyana. Tens of thousands of Guyanese were living all over the place. Venezuela, Suriname, Trinidad, the rest of the Caribbean. People were leaving here paying $10,000, $15,000 US dollars to go backtrack. That is what they left us in. We were the most indebted population per capita on planet Earth. I used to remember Dr. Jagan used to say that every Guyanese, when they were born, They had owed some, I think, about $1 million US in debt. As soon as they were born. That was we were repaying debt at $96, 96% of our GDP. 96 cents out of every dollar had to go to debt repayment. Completely unsustainable economy. That is what we inherited in 92. And again, we had to build, 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 build. And we have been transforming this country year after year under extremely difficult and challenging circumstances. In the meanwhile, you have the PNC. While they're in opposition, they're burning and beating every election. They're causing disruptions and marches. They're burning the roads, riots, every elections, all the way till to 2006. That's what we have had in this country. Scaring away investors. The political climate was never stable. They unleashed gangs. They were part of the jailbreak, and then they started to have alliance with the criminals. I dealt at length in another program dealing with those connections. That is what the PPP had to deal with while struggling to develop the country. And we moved the economy from that state of bankruptcy to a middle-income economy, graduating out of the HIPIC program, the most indebted poor countries program. And we were growing at 4% per annum. And that is before we got oil. When I speak to the people now in this country and I talk about all the housing schemes that we built all of them without oil. Diamond, Grove, Parfait Harmony, Good Hope, you name it, Tushen, we built all of that without oil. Build the Berbice Bridge, build the Marriott Hotel, all of that, the stadium, everything. People believe that, is all you hear now is oil money. We have been building this country long before oil and brought it to the place where we are. That is our track record. Guyanese who live overseas, every time they come back to this country, they are in awe at the developments that have taken place. I give you that historical review so that you understand when we say that we have a track record of development. It's not hot air, it's things that we can point to. Do you know that for decades in this country, children were being failed common entrance. They were not failing common entrance. They were being failed common entrance by the system simply because there was no place at secondary schools for the children. Your children who failed, it's not that they necessarily did bad. Some of them passed, but they didn't have secondary schools to put them in. When we took over in 1992, there was not a single secondary school in the Amerindian communities, not one. Today there is a secondary school in every single Amerindian community, and we are building more. And that's just education. You had primary tops. They used to extend the primary school and put a couple classroom and call it Form 1 or Form 2. They're pretending that it's a secondary school. There were no secondary schools. We simply didn't have them. And we didn't have any money to build them. We have moved away from that. Today you have secondary schools right across the country. So it's a track record of accomplishment that I want to establish. You see, important in electoral politics is achievements, is a track record to which a voter can point. To say, I'm voting for this man because this is what he has done, or I'm voting for this party because this is what this party has done. The PNC runs away from its past. runs away from its past. There is nothing that they can point to of substance after all those years in government. They hide away from their record. They hide away from their record. And the other thing, what makes it easier for the voter, is trust. The voter can trust the PPP, and they know that they can trust the PPP because we have been there and we have made promises and we have delivered on those promises. You notice we are not making the promises that others are making right now, although we are in government and we are going back into government. We are still not making those promises that are a bed of roses. Our promises are rooted in reality. They are rooted in pragmatism. We will only promise what we are able to deliver because our brand is important. Our credibility is crucial. And that trust that the population and us enjoy, we value that. And that is why we make sustained promises. And that's why I have been describing the other side as the card tricksters. They are con artists. They tell you what you want to hear. So the last election, they told the rice farmers that they're going to give them $9,000 a bag for paddy. When they got into office, the president said, government doesn't do paddy. Government doesn't do rice. They sold the people rice all over the world, never collected the money. They went to the sugar estates and they sent Nagamutu and Ramjatan and they said, we are going to increase wages. We are not going to close down any estates. And when the people voted for them, they shut down the estates and dismissed 7,000 workers. They went to the University of Guyana and they told the young people, come with us, we are going to give you jobs. We are going to decrease university tuition fees. The young people came on board heavily with them. They increased university tuition fees by 35%. And when the young people asked them, where are the jobs? President Granger said that we are not in the business, said that we are not in the business of job creation. Go to Stabrook Market and you can sell cook-up rice and fry fish. And excluded the young people from their cabinet and from decision-making processes in government. They promised the people that they're going to reduce VAT. They're going to reduce taxes. They dropped 200 taxes on the backs of the people, including putting VAT on water, VAT on electricity, VAT on school supplies, VAT on pharmaceuticals, VAT on agricultural equipment. And if that was not enough, they went to the MMA, and they increased the rice farmers' land rents and drainage charges by 1,500%, bankrupting all the rice farmers. Then they sent GRA to the small farmers, the subsistence farmers, who planted a couple bang bhaji and baigan. And GRA taking notes and auditing the people. They're going to pay tax for the baigan that they planted in the backyard. Then they used Soku and Sara to instill fear in the population, charging half of the political opponents. Businessmen, the GRA and Sara were being used as weapons against the business community. Ask the businessmen, they're still here. Not a single new investment, not one new investment did they attract in between 2015 to 2020. They chased away Barama. They chased away Baishanlin. They chased away, I can't even remember the number of companies that ran away from here, closed their operations. These are facts. 30,000 persons lost their jobs. They knock off 2,100 Amerindian community service workers one day. 2,100 Amerindians. These people used to get a salary and used to help in their communities. Just knock them off like that, not give them notice, nothing. Take away lands from rice farmers, take away house lots from people. I was in court every single week with a different case. That is their legacy, immediate legacy. And I'm not going to talk about rigged elections. I am talking about what just happened here in 2015 to 2020. So how can you choose these people? Norton has no experience. But even before I get there, let me dwell a little more with their performance in government. There is not a significant project, infrastructural or otherwise, to which they can point and say that we have done this. And you live in this country, you point to one that they did, and they can proudly say, at least we did this one. Durban Park remains a public spectacle and an outrage. $1.2 billion. That is what they have to show for it. They built 2 walkovers on the East Bank. I don't think any of them working. The roadways that they completed were contracts started by us. They distributed 7,500 house lots, our house lots. We started those housing schemes. What else did they do? Tell me. But they gifted themselves and their cronies hundreds of plots of lands. And you know that story so many times I've had to explain it. And they were not giving their ordinary supporters. You ask the ordinary supporter of APNU, PNC, what they got from this government, or the AFC. Ask them. Go to Buxton, go to Plaisance, go to Den Amstel, and ask the West Coast Berbice, average supporter, what did they get? Or let them point in their community to a project of worth that was built. None. Nothing. They didn't even visit those communities. They did not even visit the communities. And that is why the choice is not a difficult one. And that is also why they can't speak today to the electorate. They can't speak. What are they going to say when they were there and their actions are fresh in the minds of the people? They can't come up with an explanation as to why they took away the cash grant. They took it away from Afro-Guyanese children, the very people who they claim to love so much. They took it away from them, as well as everyone else. And you know what they said to the people? We are going to replace it with a boat, bicycle, and bus program. Well, I have been to many of PNC stronghold communities. And I've said to them, you know, they took away your cash grant that the PPP government was giving you. This bad, terrible, racial PPP government was giving you a cash grant for your children. They took it away, this party that represents you. And they said to you that they're going to give you bus, boat, and bicycle. Now, I know that they didn't give PPP supporters. I know that, because I've been and asked them to. They didn't get any bus, they didn't get any bicycle, they didn't get any boat. But then again, they didn't vote for the PNC. But you vote for the PNC. So tell me now, which one of you in this audience got a boat, got a bus, or got a bicycle? Or tell me who you know got a boat, a bus, or a bicycle. Up to now, I'm looking for a person to raise their hands. Nobody has raised their hands yet to tell me that they got a boat, a bus, or a bicycle. I don't know who they give it to, if they give at all. Certainly not where I have been, and I've been right across the east coast of Demerara and many other places. That is the difference, my friend. And that is why you have that, and then you have 5 years from 2020 to now, despite COVID taking away 2 years and its accompanying challenges, you have had developments and transformation of an unprecedented nature, not only in Guyana, but when compared to any part of the Caribbean. And that can't be disputed. You can't dispute that we have fixed every single road in every single community in this country. Leaving out the main highways, I'm not even getting into that. And the programs, all the other programs that we have done. And that is the difference. People are living this reality. So, the choice is a simple choice. And what are they telling the people of their plans for the future? Nothing. They look at what the PPP is promising and they are promising a little more. That's all. I mean, the thing is so comical. If we promise 50% increase, they are promising 100%. If we promise 50,000 house lots, they're promising 100,000 house lots. It's like little children. No explanation as to how you will achieve this. So, I heard Mr. Norton say that he will raise the 10-day program pays $40,000 for 10 days of work. I heard a man say that he will raise the Guyanese are punishing under the 10 days program, so he will raise it to 50,000. I thought a man would say that, he will scrap the program and create permanent employment. Come with something original, the man. Come with something original. Oh, God. He likes to say that he's bright and he's educated. And that is what they go in nebulous promises, dubious plans, ambiguous programs are what they're advocating all over. And then race. Oh my. Race is the major part of their platform. They are openly rallying race. And they have, of course, David Hines and people like Tacoma Ogunseye with them. And they are telling Afro-Guyanese openly, vote for your own. We have been saying that this election, we are going to break the back of racial voting. And we will. We have been able to get support from every race in this country in large numbers, larger than we have ever gotten. We have made inroads into every non-traditional base there is in Guyana. And it is reflected in our numbers at our rallies and our meetings. And we are appealing for racial unity everywhere we go. These guys are appealing for division and racial segregation. They're telling I listened to David Hines say to a crowd, you are voting for your ancestors. The people's ancestors died 500 years ago. We are telling people, vote for you and your children's future. This fellow telling the people, vote for your ancestors who died 500 years ago. Intelligent people find that kind of appeal to be repulsive. Repulsive. And people are rejecting it. And so, and the truth is that they educated people, and I've always said that we are now an educated people. Every time we speak, we say to the voter, to the electorate, don't vote for us because we are asking you to vote for us. Vote for us because we are the right choice, we are the viable option. Vote for us because of what we have done. Vote for us on merit. Vote for us because of issues, programs, and plans. They are telling people, vote for us because of our race. Vote for us because you can't split the vote. In 2025, how can you impose such burden on your people? And you are a leader. You want to keep your people in mental servitude. That is what they're doing. And it must be very hurtful for David Hines that his own daughter, Tabitha Sarabo Hali, is not voting the way he wants her to vote, because she is a member of WIN. So the racism is what you're dealing with there, non-performance and racism. And then also lack of qualifications. You have on the one hand a president of the caliber of Irfan Ali, who has led from the front, who has distinguished himself on the international stage, who has won the respect and regard of his peers and the global community and the regional community and wherever he goes. A man who, with maturity far belying his age, with strategy and with great diplomatic skill, have been able to handle our border issue with finesse and sophistication and competence, of course. You can put that in these people's hands. None of them in that grouping had any experience in government. None in that APNU, PNC outfit. And then you have the loose Simona Blooms, and I don't know what kind of party. Those are waste of time. Simona Blooms and Amanza Desir, I don't think you need to worry with them. I don't know what's wrong, what kind of party they are. But they are part of the same thing. They are all race. They are all part of the APNU. And then you have the WIN. And I like the Vice President's classification. We are fighting racism and we are fighting criminality. And WIN is criminality. Criminality. In addition to everything that we have said, you have now another issue arising that lends credence to what has already been in the public domain. So the American Senator Carlos Jimenez tweeted that in the US Congress we are alarmed by the regime in Venezuela's attempt to undermine Guyana through its pro-Maduro puppet candidate Azruddin Mohammed, who is sanctioned by OFAC. The Western Hemisphere must remain a stronghold of freedom, not a breeding ground for communist dictatorship. That is what the congressman posted on his Twitter account. They are saying that we paid the man to say this. These people are Congress, members of the United States Congress. You think that they are going to sell their integrity so cheaply? We send them a tweet and they just post it, and because they don't have any belief in it, and you know, I mean, these things don't make sense. So this man is saying this. This is the intelligentsia that they have. This man is not going to make a vacuous post. This man has his own credibility on the line to protect. And then you have gold smuggling allegation linking the Mohammeds to Venezuela. And then I recall the Reuters report. The Reuters report, July 14th, 2023, said this: U.S. authorities believe that the family is using its gold mining export routes to smuggle illegally mined gold from Venezuela and Colombia and Colombian cocaine around the world, according to one of the intelligence documents seen by Reuters. According to the document, the United States suspect that the Mohammeds smuggled Venezuelan gold through Brazil and into Guyana for international export, including to the Middle East. This is Reuters saying so. And then today, you have another link in the chain being established. That the Minister of Foreign Affairs had cause to engage the Venezuelan ambassador because Mr. Azruddin Mohammed is seen making frequent visits to the embassy. and there seemed to be a confirmation that a visa application has been made to travel to Venezuela. This is a guy who doesn't travel to any country, and suddenly he wants to travel to Venezuela. These are the links. In law, there is something called circumstantial evidence. These are links. You connect them. You are the citizens of this country. But more importantly, let's get back to the sanctions. These sanctions have been spoken about at length. But what have not yet been disclosed is the the most immediate implications on Guyana's financial framework. Now, as you know, Guyana successfully completed a mutual evaluation exercise last November 2024. And we came out with flying colors. In fact, Guyana did better than every other independent Caribbean territory. The territories that did better than Guyana are not independent, but are US and British territories, overseas territories. In terms of independent territory, Guyana scored the highest in the last mutual assessment evaluation by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. We are currently in the process of doing what is called a follow-up report since our mutual evaluation exercise. Now, whilst we did well, there were still deficiencies identified. And in the follow-up report now, which we have to submit before November, which is the next annual meeting of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, we have to show what actions we have taken since the mutual assessment and the deficiencies that have been identified. What steps have we taken to address those deficiencies in that mutual assessment that was done? And that's a follow-up report that we are now working on. We now have a new challenge, a new factor that was not in the equation, which we have to report on. That is to say, we have a large number of sanctioned persons who are hitherto very involved in the financial sector, operating in the gold sector, and operating directly in the financial sector as a cambio dealer. This group of companies, these persons and their companies, have now become the subject of OFAC sanctions, and that obviously have far and deep-reaching ramifications, as the OFAC documents themselves establish. And there's no need for me to go through that. We have to include this in our report now and then detail the steps that we have taken. And right now, we are writing that. So fortunately, the government of Guyana has fully complied with the US law enforcement agencies, and it is already public information that we have given all the information requested. And we have already launched our investigations here through SOCU and the Guyana Revenue Authority. But of course, you can't move anywhere with investigations now, because you will be met with the cry of political persecution. Because that's what they're saying all the time, we are persecuting them. And these are objective actions that have to be taken. But the veil of elections are being used to protect them from the law enforcement agencies carrying out their lawful duties. But that will only be delayed for a while. Of course, we have to report that we have revoked the cambio license and the gold dealer license and all other license enjoyed by the companies and the sanctioned persons. And of course that the banks have taken their own actions by closing down their accounts and severing all relations with the family and the companies. But the bank has gone a step further in protection of their own financial systems and international connections, have started to revoke the bank accounts of persons associated with this party and these persons who are sanctioned. So now all the members on the lists of candidates have been rescinded, their bank accounts have been closed. All of that we have to document. Well, what is a significant development at CFATF is that the U.S. has become, the U.S. was always a supporting member of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. But in 2024, earlier this year, it applied for and was granted full membership of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. So the U.S. is now a full-fledged member of CFATF. And obviously, once the U.S. is there, the U.S. will ensure that its sanctions have their full effect in the countries in which they are imposed, which in this case would be Guyana. The other complicating factor is that because Azruddin Mohammed is now a presidential candidate, he would be classified as a politically exposed person under the Anti-Money Laundering, Countering the Financing of Terrorism Act. And a PEP, as the abbreviation is, or being a PEP, subjects that person to a higher, an even higher threshold of scrutiny. Because once you hold certain positions, you become a politically exposed person, and you and your relatives and families are held to a higher threshold and a higher standard in relation to all transactions. So it's extremely complicated. And if he is to be elected to Parliament, the matter would become even more complicated for Guyana and Guyanese. The point I am making is that this one person is exposing this economy and this financial system and the lives of every single Guyanese to the perils of what I am alluding to. And he is not doing this for king or country. Let me make that very clear, at least that's my view, and I've seen no evidence to suggest otherwise. He is simply doing this to stave off criminal proceedings against him. That is all. It has nothing to do with all these people who are affected. And once these elections come and go, then another course of action will take its place, or the natural course of things will begin to unfold. And all these people who are following will be tossed aside. This is a one-man show to prevent or to protect himself. That's what this is about. So, I think I've exhausted my time. My operator is showing me that I've exhausted my time by several minutes. But I thought that I had to spend some time on dealing with these issues. Because at the end of the day, I hold responsibility as Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs for the AML-CFT sector of the country. And these are complications that we have to deal with. And this, I know they will, it's easy to say that we are politically persecuting and these are facts, my friend. When we prepare the reports and we are able to make them public, you will see everything that I've said here are included in the reports. This is how Guyana is going to be judged. Your country is going to be judged by this because of what this guy did. You can very well get an adverse judgment and get all sorts of negative consequences flowing from. That is not me. I'm not making this up. These are the facts which you will see in due course. I want to thank you very much for spending the past hour or so with me. I think we have exceeded the hour. And I want to wish you all the best. I know that we have had a lot of issues that we have discussed, and I hope that you have enjoyed tonight's discussion. I hope that we have learned from tonight's discussion. I always try to let the program be educational. I learn, you learn, and that's the way that we must engage, in an educational way and not in an antagonistic and hostile manner. Let us learn and love rather than hate and fight. So once again, thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'll see you next week as we continue our discussions of issues in the news. See you, take care, and may God bless you.